So, fun topic. Who's Jon Jones going to fight? If he's not going to fight Francis, who is Jon Jones going to fight? And you know what? I'm not ready to answer that because you want to know who I think he's going to fight? I think he's going to fight Francis, or at least for the championship. He's just not going to be next for Francis. Francis is going to go possibly with Derek Lewis, I think is where the wind is blowing. You've got Stipe. You have some very good options here. I'm not sure that Jon isn't just going to wait. There's a number of scenarios. Say Derek Lewis beats Francis. Maybe they just want to see the trilogy. Jon gets bumped again. Say Derek becomes the champion. Derek draws into Jon. Jon starts to think better of this and go, you know what? This is what I do. This is what I do for a living. I need to go out there and earn a living. I just think that possibly Jon's mindset is going to change. I think some of that competitiveness that made Jon so good in the first place is ultimately going to win the day. But I also think that that's very important, not only for Jon's well-being, but for the sport as a whole. And Jon is not a leader in the sport. He is not a guy where the locker room looks and goes, let me go do what Jon's doing. However, he is in a leadership position of the sport just because of his success. And that's not the way Jon wants to lead. Jon wants to leave this sport better than he found it. And the way he found it was with true competitors. And I think that Jon needs to find that in himself somewhere. And I know that it's still there. I know this competitor that has packed up and left town is still there. I mean, him going to heavyweight and then setting out a list of things that he actually wrote down that he himself believed he needed to do, and they were going to require some real lifestyle changes and some real discipline. All right, to put size on, guys, I'm telling you, it's a very hard thing to do. It is very, very hard, and Jon did it. So Jon had a level of discipline that was predicated on the idea of motivation, that was predicated on the idea of competition. So Jon still got this competitor in him. He just got to refine this guy. Somebody got to him. Somebody got in his ear and just kind of programmed him the wrong way. That I've got to be bribed to go out and compete. Well, that competitor's still in him. That competitor that took him so far, it's still in there. I can see it. I know it's there. I know it's there because I know how hard it is to gain weight. I know how hard it is to get those workouts on after you've changed your physiology. I know how hard it is to land kicks standing on one foot when now your balance and timing are off because you're now not the same size as you were when you learned how to do those kicks. I'm just sharing with you. It's not all terrible for Jon. That competitor is still within him. That competitor is still competing. That competitor is still setting goals and reaching them. Jon had goals to be able to deadlift X amount of weight. Well, he got it. He had goals to be able to squat X amount of weight. He got them. He's still following the rules and the principles of the sport that got him here. That are all competitive based. Not the same competitor. There was a day Jon would walk over glass just for an opportunity. Those are the guys that become champions. That is how Jon became a champion, by example. So that guy has left town, but he can come back. He can still come back. And I do believe that Jon's next fight will be for a championship. I do believe that. I don't believe it's going to be with Blachowicz. I don't believe Jon's going to go back down to 205. I think he made a very clear decision, saw what happened down there. Because of his own success, he just lost interest. And even had some real veteran names at one point, who though the veterans really couldn't compete very well with Jon, there was still well, can they? Can the old guard? I mean, that story's never going to get tired of being told, and Jon lived through that. But again, he cleaned house, right? I don't think he's going back to 205. I think he's staying at heavyweight. And I don't think that Jon at some point is going to go, okay, I'm going to do this for less against in a lesser placement on the card. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Jon's a main event guy. I think Jon is a championship contender guy. I think he got a little spooked by Francis. Maybe Jon just sees a little bit more of Francis, right? Maybe if he sees a little bit more, one more fight of Francis against somebody, let's say Derek Lewis, which looks likely. Jon's smart. Jon's going to start to see things, and he's going to start to figure things out. And whatever predications he's had, whatever fear he's got about putting it on the line in there, I will predict for you is going to lessen. Surprisingly, but I predict for you it's going to lessen. Because Jon is he's very tactical guy. He can see things that other people don't see. He never gets credit for that. Doesn't get credit for it because he doesn't speak and relate it in a good way. In a good way, I mean, he doesn't always sound like the most intelligent guy in the room, but if you want to talk about IQ, Jon knows exactly what he's looking at. And he also knows who he is. By example, he knows techniques that he can do because of his length, because of his frame. Jon's a very smart fighter, man. He's very tactical. I really do think, yeah, maybe he needs to see another Francis. Maybe he needs to see him a time or two. But Jon's going to find things. He's going to find things, and he's going to start to build a confidence. And he's going to realize, I want to get my due. I don't want to be walking around this planet with a skill that I worked hard to have and that I think I do possess and not get recognized for it. No athlete wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. They're greedy. They're selfish. They want to have what it is they have. I mean, you'll remember, talk about competition. So I keep hearing this, that Jon isn't a competitor anymore. Jon doesn't have any competition left with inside him. I don't see it that way. I really don't. And I realize he's not the same competitor. I'm just sharing for you, it can come back. Something happened of the whole pie. It's only a sliver, the sliver left. We got the majority of it there, but I'll offer you another example, speaking of Jon and his competitiveness, and as to why I've come to this conclusion. If you even look at the debate that he got in, which was nothing more than a debate, but he refused to back down against Khabib Nurmagomedov and the media. Jon took on Khabib and the media because he felt something was his, and he wanted the right to have it, which was his name on a pound-for-pound list somewhere on a .com, and I don't say this to be fun. I don't know where. I don't even know where this exists, but it does, and it meant something to Jon. That's because he's a competitor. He's a competitor. You guys that think Jon's not, Jon doesn't want to compete anymore, and Jon's afraid of Francis. Jon has every right to be afraid of Francis. Jon has been afraid of a lot of guys. So what? You guys often misuse the word afraid. That's a school term. Gives a goddamn if a guy's afraid. I mean, just by example, Jon doesn't care if he's scared. That seems to be a message in fight. Well, you're scared. Okay. Next. I mean, I don't know what that means. You're scared. Great. Where's my mouthpiece? Like, that's the way a fighter would work. Doesn't care. Does that mean that he's absent of fear? No, of course not. He's a human being, sure. Sure, he could be scared, but you're thinking he's scared of Francis, so he doesn't want to go with Francis? No, but there's a competitor. And that competitor either believes in his training or he doesn't. That competitor even believes that, yes, I've checked the boxes and getting up to 240 pounds and putting on this strength is enough for heavyweight as I thought it was going to be, or he doesn't. Those are personal decisions. And quite frankly, Jon doesn't owe it to you to tell you how he's internalizing some of these things. He owes it to himself to continue to set goals, continue to try to achieve them in the belief that they will get him closer to a championship. And at some point, he's got to go out and be ready. And you'll see this in all walks of life, guys. There's only a few kinds of people. You'll have knowledge gatherers, by example. This is a kind of person. You can put this in education. They're going to get a higher degree and another degree. They're going to take classes and seminars and read more books with the hope that someday they will have the knowledge to be prepared. And then there's another kind of people that go, I'm ready now. I'm ready now. Keep your books. I'm ready. One guy works in the business. One guy owns the business. That's the way it is, though. There's not a whole lot of room anywhere else. You're going to have the Bezos and the Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musk that stop college. You go, it's enough. I've got enough. I'm ready. And you're going to have the other people that are working for those guys that have PhDs and are working on second PhDs. They're constantly trying to gather knowledge, hoping that someday they'll be ready. That's okay. Nobody's wrong here. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just sharing that when it comes to human psychology, there's only a couple of ways you can go. You can continue to get ready, or you can step forward and say, I've arrived. I'm ready. Jon is in the first one right now. He is in the phase of he's still gathering. Still, maybe another pound, maybe 3 more pounds, maybe a couple more sprints, maybe he's gathering. That's okay. It's a natural part of the process. I say this because I do feel that you guys are a little bit too hard on Jon. I don't like Jon. Jon doesn't like me. That doesn't mean we don't treat him fair. And to come out and make believe that Jon Jones is scared. I mean, you guys, in all fairness, but you remember when people did this to him with Reyes? They wanted to fight Reyes a second time, said he's scared of Reyes. He's scared to fight Reyes. He just fought Reyes. I mean, do you see the problem with that statement? Because the word scared means something different to other people. Jon is a human being. Sure, I'm sure he's been happy at times. I'm sure he's sad at times. I'm sure he's high on life. I'm sure he's been depressed on days. It's called being a human being. He has every emotion. And yes, fear and scared is one of it. That's not what's stopping this. The competitor has left town. The competitor believes he still needs to gather and gain knowledge, information, maybe a couple of pounds in his case. But eventually that old dog's going to come back. The same guy that took on Khabib in the media because it meant something to him because he thought it was his. That guy's going to come home. If I was to predict for you, I do believe that Jon's next match, I do not believe the opportunity goes up in smoke. The conversation is going to remain the same, though. The back and forth will remain the same. The opportunity is not gone. So the only thing we need, we just need Jon to come back. And Jon's gone. Jon's gone. The Jon that stepped in and fought Shogun is gone. He's left. He's got to come home. And when he does, I do believe that it will be right for a championship fight. When he feels he's ready, I predict for you that opportunity is still going to be there. Conversation's going to be the same, but the opportunity is going to be there, and so are we. So stand by. Don't dismiss Jon just yet.